This sewing project got me through the most incredibly stressful period of my time, and I found it the other day. Clearly I haven't really needed it since then because it's been in a bag waiting for me to find it again, and I came across it the other day and I thought, you know what, I really need to do a little bit more on that, because you can see I've only done a little rectangle. I'll measure it and I'll pop the measurements of how much I've done and how many of these little tiny Suffolk puffs, or yo-yos as they're called, I've actually completed. And I thought now's a really good time to start again, because I'm in another period of anxiety, unfortunately. I think partly it's that time of my life and also some other circumstances that are happening at the moment, but I thought it's a perfect time to get this out again because it's so relaxing to do. From a mindfulness stitching perspective, it's brilliant because you have to repeat a process over and over again. You get to deal with gorgeous fabrics. There are so many beautiful fabrics that I've been using on this, most of them Tilda, some of them just plain that I had in my craft room, but it's the process of just mindlessly stitching, and you can do it even when the lighting isn't perfect. You can't really get it wrong. So it's the perfect project, I think, if you are undergoing a period of stress or anxiety. So I'm going to show you how to do it, even though you may already know, in which case obviously this video is probably not for you. But if you don't know, and if you've not done it before, these are called Suffolk puffs or yo-yos, and they're just made out of a circle of fabric, and you sew around the top edge of the circle and then pull them tight, and it makes these gorgeous little Suffolk puffs. I'll show you in a moment, and I have a little process that I do that makes the situation a little bit quicker, because obviously getting all the circles and stuff made up can take a little bit of time. So this is what I do. So these are some of the fabrics that I started to use when I started this whole process. Now bear in mind, this was over 10 years ago that I actually started this, so I did it for a certain period of time, then the stress stopped, and to be honest with you, I just put it away because I didn't really need it anymore. So it's come up at the perfect time for me. Now I need to still find out some of this fabric, some of this fabric, and also some of that gorgeous green and red. So I need to find myself some of that, because I'm sure I've still got some in the craft room or in the playroom somewhere. So I'm going to leave those ones out to remind me to go and look. But these are the fabrics that I found that I knew I'd put aside specifically for this project, and these are all Tilda fabrics, and I remember I got them at a really good price. It was something like £4.99 a metre, but bearing in mind it was many years ago that I purchased this, and I probably purchased like 1.5 metres or 2 metres of each type, because I knew I'd use it for other projects, and I thought at least if I keep it to one side I'll be able to use it for this, and then I'll know that I've got colours that go together. So aren't they absolutely gorgeous? I found some of this and I think that will go quite nicely with it as well. And this one is just a cotton poplin that I got at Dunelm Mill. I think they did quite a good range of this sort of thing. I probably bought that from there as well. So what I do to make the process a little bit easier to do, because there's a lot of cutting, and cutting isn't always my favourite part of a sewing project. I'd rather have stuff there to stitch ready to go. I don't want to have to stop and cut things in between. So I always try to find the quickest and easiest way of cutting things out, and my way of doing it is to use a die cutter. And I have this one here, and this is the size that I'm using. So it's my 4-inch diameter circle, and I use it on my large Big Shot Pro. But if you've got a smaller machine, then obviously these go through the Big Shot as well. But this is absolutely brilliant, and it's the perfect size that I have found for it. And this is what they look like when they're cut. So it's that size there. But to make the situation a little bit quicker even still, what I've done is torn myself strips of the fabric that I want to use in strips that are just over 4 inches wide. So then the full length of the fabric that I've got, so just over 4 inches wide, so it's like 4.5, 5 inches wide. And what I'm going to do then is iron each one, and I'm going to use a card to then fold, minding the selvage, to fold it onto the card, so that it's ready for me to cut when I go up. And then I will cut, or if I've just done it, if I've just rolled it sort of 4 times or so, I can just cut that there, pull it off the card, and then that will be then ready for me to just cut multiples on my die like that, because obviously with a big shot you can cut many items of your whatever your shape is out if you're using fabric. So that's the advantage of using these thick dies, because they're absolutely brilliant. But I did realise that actually ironing is probably the best thing to do, because when you cut them out and you not iron them, you do tend to get a little bit of a wiggle on, and sometimes that means that the edge gets sort of nipped off a little bit, so sometimes you don't get a perfect cut. So I will be ironing them, and then they'll be all nice and flat, ready for me to do. So they're the fabrics, so that's that. So what I'll do is keep in the bag with all my made up yo-yos my cut pieces of fabric, also some suitable cotton thread that I'll be using, also my needle threader and a needle. And then this is how I go about actually making the yo-yos. You may have seen this already. So what you do, you've got your circle there. Now I know you can get yo-yo makers, but I don't use those. I've never used one, so I've no idea how you use those. So what I do is just fold in the edge of the fabric circle, and then just so just a stitch there, and I've got a little knot on the end there. You can anchor that even more, so maybe do another stitch, but you shouldn't need to if your knot's big enough. And then basically just do a running stitch with quite large stitches all the way round the outside of your circle. Sorry if I keep going out of focus and frame. I do apologise. It's difficult to see what I'm doing and film at the same time. So basically just a running stitch all the way around the edge of the circle with that edge just folded inwards. So I've got back to the first knot, and I'm going to pull that in. Just turn your fabric so it's the right way out. It makes sort of like a little dish, and then what we're going to do is just pull gently, and that will gather the edge. Now if you've made these before, let me know, and I apologise because I'm not teaching grandma to suck eggs, as it were. I didn't know how to do these a long time ago, and it was beneficial for me to see how they were done. So, you know, I'm sorry if I am repeating something that you know already, but just in case you don't know and you've never made them before, these are so relaxing to make, and you can make dozens at night while you're sort of sat there watching the telly, because you don't really have to concentrate that much. Your hands literally just take over. So even though I didn't do a brilliant job there, because I'm trying to see what I'm doing on camera as well, didn't do a very good job there either, to be honest. But so there you go. So that's what I'm still out of frame. So that's basically what they look like. And then all you need to do then is just anchor your thread just by maybe giving it a couple of stitches and tying a little knot on the inside. So I shall do that. And then it won't come undone. Now, once you've got a few of these made up, the next stage would be to decide how you're going to join them. Now, all I did was, if I can find my little, all I did when I joined mine was just to do just a little, I suppose it would be a whip stitch, wouldn't it really? Just with really tiny stitches, so you can barely even see them. I'm still using the white thread, but because most of my fabric is quite light, you can see it a little bit on the red one there, but to be honest, it's not very noticeable. And that's basically how I have attached them. Now, if you have done this before and you know of a better way, then let me know. There probably is a better way, but for me that worked, and I think it looks absolutely fine. So that's quite a good look, I think. Now, it's a bit of an odd thing to make, I think, because you've got this lovely blanket at the end of it, but you've got all these holes in it, and you think, well, is that actually going to be very warm at all? But I think it probably is, because you've got a couple of layers of fabric and that's all bunched up, so it probably is quite warming. And I would imagine once you've made one, they're probably quite nice to fiddle with when you've got it on your lap. So I would imagine they make quite nice blankets if you're a bit of a fiddler and you just like to sort of sit and press something, because they feel quite nice to touch. So if you've got one of these on your knee as a lap blanket, then I would imagine they're quite nice to touch. Of course, the alternative is, if you want to add yet more warmth, you want to use it as a really warm blanket, then you'd be able to attach these to a piece of backing fabric or fleece or something like that, and then it would be sort of like a quilt almost, wouldn't it? Like 2 layers, so you'd have a layer on the back of it, and that would keep it. That would be absolutely lovely and snugly warm, I would imagine, if you use that lovely thick fleece like I used on the backing of that little patchwork blanket I made for my daughter. I would imagine that would work absolutely beautifully, so I might try that actually and see what that's like. So yeah, so a backing fabric would probably work really well. I don't know who does anything else, because I don't actually know anyone who does this. It was just something I happened to start doing in a period of stress. I had been making yo-yos before because I used to sell them as a craft item, and they were actually purchased by a photographer who was doing baby portraits, and she used them as photo props in the baby portrait. So they basically, it would sort of be behind the baby, because I did lots and lots of different colours, and you know, it was the whole patchwork effect, and she used them as photo props. So that's how I started out, because I was just making them as a craft item, and then I realised, actually, wouldn't it be nice just to make something for myself? So I've got this very, very small start of a blanket or a throw, and I'm not entirely sure where it's going to go, but I think now is the time for me to pick it up again and start another mindful practice of slow stitching some more yo-yos. So basically that's it. I just wanted to come on and show you that today. I hope you've enjoyed seeing it. If you have, give me a thumbs up. I really appreciate that. And if you've got to comment, then it would be absolutely lovely to hear from anybody who wants to say hello in the comments. I love it when people say hi, and just, you know, it's just so lovely when people give encouragement or constructive criticism. That helps. And if you've got any tips on how to do these, then I welcome them. So please do get in touch, and I'll see you in the next video. So take care, everyone. Bye.